What's going on, team? Proof here, and welcome to the rest of the cards from set 2 from Duel Masters Plays. And I do have the added advantage of playing in the meta for a few days, so I have a little bit more that I could probably give you on terms of ideas of what to do with the cards. But I do want to apologize ahead of time because I'm not going to be doing the editing like I did in the previous videos, just because there's so many cards that they didn't reveal for the reveal videos. I kind of wanted just to get it out and then explain what the cards do, and then encourage everybody that wants to learn more to come to the Duel Masters Plays wiki, like I have open here. Just kind of see the cards and like see some of the interactions and maybe look into some of the cards that I talked about during the course of the video. And I haven't decided if I want to do this in one video or in 5 videos, one for each other civilization, but that remains to be seen once I'm done recording all these. So let's go ahead and hop into it. So I'm gonna start with light and then go through in civilization order from here on out. And I'm gonna start with the highest rarity card that I haven't talked about in the previous video down to the lowest rarity card that I haven't talked about yet. So hope you enjoy and leave a like. It really helps me out just in terms of getting people to notice with the videos, because I do enjoy making these, and I hope it encourages you to come check out the videos, come check out the game as well. So without further ado, let's go and hop into it. So like I said, I'm gonna start with light, and the first card I'm gonna talk about is Sasha, Chandler of the Suns. She's a Mecha del Sol, a blocker, double breaker, and while battling a dragon, it gets plus 6,000 power. So this is a bigger version, a more expensive version than Aegis, which is a 5 mana blocker that I talked about during the reveal videos. And being more expensive lends itself to not being played likely as often, even though it does come with the bigger benefit of blocking Uber Dragon Bajula more easily, but it still dies to some of the dragons that can get really big because it tops out at 15,500, which in terms of some dragons is nice, but in terms of other dragons it may not be as nice, and it still costs more than most of the evolution dragons anyway, so there's really not much point in playing it. You'd rather try to stifle the dragons a different way, or just win before the big dragon comes down if you can. So unfortunately, I don't think Sasha's going to see much play, even though it does have a nice upside of being able to attack, unlike Aegis, but still it's probably a little bit too slow for the dragons of the world. And then we have Mashut the Oracle, or Makute. I think it's Makute. I've always called it Mashut, so we'll need whichever one works for you. But Lightbringer, when one of your guardians enters the battle zone, tap one of your opponent's creatures that has the lowest power. If there's more than one, so if it's a tie, randomly tap one down from among them. So this helps benefit guardian decks, as you can allude to. So things like Glena Vul decks, Jill Worka, and then some of the other cards that I haven't talked about yet are guardians as well. Well, at least one other card is a guardian, which is a very likely to be played guardian if you're playing in a guardian style deck. So Mashut here does sound enticing to use. I don't know where it's going to find room. Maybe down the line it might find more room, because 5 mana is a power spike turn, and also runs into battling for position with Petrova and with Miss Rias from set 1, so that 5 mana slot becomes kind of overcrowded, so it's kind of hard to find use for something that doesn't have immediate benefit, unlike Petrova, which can buff up your guardians, or Miss Rias. Even though Miss Rias doesn't have an immediate benefit, it can steamroll advantage in your favor if it sticks around. Mashut probably doesn't have that same benefit, even though it does come with the tap down side of it. And if you're trying to play tap down with things, you may as well just go Initiates, because they specialize in that. So here's one of the guardians that I talked about that could be used with Mashut if you choose to use it. We have Snorkelaw, Shrine Guardian, and it's a blocker, and then cards in your mana zone can't be put into the graveyard, and of course it can't attack players. So this is one of the only, I think it is the only anti-mana destruction card that we have, and it helps you against Uber Dragon Bajula, because of course you can't. Uber Dragon Bajula's big upside is that it can burn down your opponent's mana, but Snorkelaw here says, nah, forget about all that. Unfortunately, it is just not big enough, and there's other guardians that you might want to play instead of that and try to beat the dragons faster before Bajula can even come down. It still might see play it just because it has that niche benefit and it's a decent blocker, but I think there are better 2 mana and 1 mana guardians you probably want to fit into your deck more than Snorklaw here. Next up we have Alfreet, Judgement Elemental. It's an Angel Command, Shield Trigger, Blocker, and it can attack players. So now there's 2 4 mana options for Angel Commands in Picari and now Alfreet here. And that's really nice because now you have double the odds to go into Alcadias on time or into Avilas, which is a card I haven't really talked about because it's pretty much outshined by Alcadias, but it's a 5 mana Angel Command evolution that when it comes into play, put the top card of your deck into your shield zone. So in exchange for giving up the blocker, you get an additional shield. So it's kind of like having a pseudo blocker, but since Avilas is 7,000 power, it can easily attack into something that can trade to remove the attacker. So you kind of get that double odds of surviving into the future. But now you have a Alfreet here, which can also come off as a shield trigger to block an attack before your opponent can make said attack. And being 3,000 power means it can trade into Snip, Power Fighter Magnus, common fire creatures, that especially if they're going to be more aggressive towards your shields. So it might find some niche use. Picari is still the A1 number 1 Angel Command blocker, but this is a nice budget option if you can't quite get your hands on some Picaris. Next up we have Farz the Oracle, a Lightbringer. When destroyed, you may search your graveyard for spells and return 1 to your hand. So this is a smaller version of Phal, which is a guardian creature, 5 mana. When it comes into play, search your graveyard for a spell, return 1 to your hand. And with the benefit of having to be destroyed means it can come down sooner, and then you can get some more immediate benefit out of some of your cheaper spells like Ghost Touch or Phantom Bite, which can reduce power on your opponent's creatures, or other cheaper spells. And then you can probably trade into one of your opponent's creatures and then get the spell back immediately. When I get to Darkness, there's a popular combination out there that combines Farz with one of the darkness spells that you can just kill Farz off and then get a benefit from it and then get the spell back into your hand, which we'll cover that some more when we get there. But Farz might find itself some space as a cheap option that you can use to kill off something and then get the spell back as well. Next up we got Sphere of Wonder, 4 mana spell. If your opponent has more shields than you, add the top card of your deck to your shield zone. So this is unlike Sundrop Armor, which is a card from set 1. This card here doesn't cost you a card from hand to set up, so you don't get the benefit of setting your shield. It's kind of just a random off the top, but it also means you can play it if it's the only card in your hand, unlike Sundrop Armor. On the downside, your opponent has to have more shields than you, so that means if you're tied, it becomes a 4 mana useless spell. You can't do anything with it, but it does have the bonus of being useful against aggressive decks after they've broken your shields. So there it has a little bit of upside, so you can save your cards in hand for trying to stop their aggressiveness while adding to your own defensiveness. I don't know if it's going to see a lot of play. I haven't really seen it yet. A lot of people have still been opting to going for Sundrop Armor because you can help set the shield that you want to get the maximum benefit out of adding the shield down. Next up we got Lightning Charger, one of the Charger spells. Tap one of your opponent's creatures, and then Charger means instead of going to the graveyard, it goes to your mana zone, so it can accelerate you. And being 4 mana means you can go directly to 5 mana, and then going into 6 mana on your next turn puts you in the range of Crazed Valkyrie, ideally most likely Crazed Valkyrie, but it means you also don't have to put cards into from your hand to mana for your bigger evolution creatures like bigger light creatures like Glean of Wool that I talked about. Maybe if you're playing a more budget deck, you can go into Ladia Bell, which is one of the basic free cards that you get. So it has some applications to tap down your opponent's stuff. It does come at 4 mana, which is kind of pricey for tapping something down. So you need to have a creature on the board to take benefit of tapping something down. So you kind of need to commit a card to get max benefit from the card. So that's where it might see trouble finding some space. But since light blockers are big and beefy early on, and you can easily trade into something that you tap down from there. Then we got Chintreg, Vizier of Blades, 4 mana initiate, tap skill, tap one of your opponent's creatures. So as I talked about a little bit ago, initiates specialize in tapping down because there's Miel, a 3 mana come to play, tap something down. There's Rom, which is another initiate, which is 4 mana when it comes into play, tap something down. And then there's Crazed Valkyrie, the evolution, 6 mana, evolve on one of your initiates. When it comes into play, choose 2 of your opponent's creatures and tap them down, or up to 2 if they don't have 2 to choose from. Chiding here Chintreg here kind of doubles down or quadruples down on that. So I don't know if it's going to find play because it has to live for a turn and then it can start tapping something down. And it's only 2,000 power, which means that you won't get much use out of it once you tap something down, most likely, because it has to survive the following turn. And it's having 2,000 power means it's very much in kill range of a bevy of removal options. So you have to buff it. You have to buff up your initiates through Petrova to then start getting the benefit out of it. So you may as well just be better off playing some of the other initiates by that moment in time, the ones with immediate benefits from them. Then we got Niall, Vizier of Dexterity, another initiate. Very simple. At the end of your turn, untap this creature. So Earth Purified Elemental is an angel command that you get in the basic set, so it comes for free. 6 mana, 6,000 power double breaker that has the exact same effect, which didn't see a lot of play in set 1 because there was much bigger angel commands and much more proactive angel commands that you could play. Niall here might find some niche use in more aggressive decks because if you aren't tapped down at the end of your turn, that means your opponent can't then attack into the creature to remove it. So it becomes scary that you can't subsequently kill the creature off and they can just keep attacking you down. And then if you buff this up with the likes of Petrova, it becomes 6,500 power, at which point it's much more harder to get rid of it because it becomes bigger than all the cost removal options. So your best way to remove it is through like Terror Pit or Aqua Surfer. So now you're committing a 6 mana card to remove a 3 mana card, which feels like a very bad trade-off. So there's some maneuverability here for Niall to see some play, and I probably am going to try something around it just because I do like the idea of protecting itself by untapping at the end of the turn. Then we got Belos, Vizier of Electrons, another initiate. It's just a vanilla 2-drop, 2 mana, 2,000 power. This is a nice card to include if you're playing Crazed Valkyrie. So it gives you Sirius, Belos here, and then there's another 2 mana shield trigger blocker called Karuz, 2 mana, 1,500,000 or 1,500,000. Whoa, that's huge. 1,500 power, which is also a shield trigger blocker that is also cost 2 mana, which I feel like I said that 8 different ways just now, but just kind of riffing. But it gives you another option here for 2 drops that you can flash Evo into Crazed Valkyrie on 8 mana. So that's where it becomes most useful. I don't know, it probably, if you're leaning more aggressively in that you want to have something that could be proactive instead of just 8 count 2 mana blockers, you can throw in Belos here over Karuz and then have something that could be more proactive once you buff it up with Petrova. And then we got Soul Gala Halo Guardian, 2 mana, 1,000 power Guardian. Is a blocker, but it can attack, which is a little bit different than what we've seen up to now, especially for a 2 mana blocker. And then when someone casts a spell, this gets plus 3,000 power until the end of turn. So this goes along well with cheaper spells because if you can play multiple in a turn, it can become 7,000 or 10,000 power, which helps you maintain tempo because you can use spells to remove something that's too big for you to handle before you buff up Soul Gala, and then let Soul Gala handle the bigger thing after you've buffed it up a couple times. And it's a very popular 2 mana option for Guardian Petrova decks because, as you can see here, it becomes a threat once you buff it up with Petrova. It becomes 5,000 power, and then if you cast a spell, it becomes 8,000 power, which is big enough to trade into the likes of Crystal Lancer, Fighter Dual Fang. It can hit over all the 7,000 power creatures, so it becomes a nice little benefit to have use some spells to maybe use Holy Oath to tap down your opponent's board. If you have a couple Soul Galas out after you buff up with Petrova, you can have an easier time clearing their board after that. So very efficient, very flexible Guardian to use in your Guardian Petrova decks. And then last but not least, we have Lunar Charger, and choose 2 of your creatures at the end of the turn, untap the chosen creatures, and it has Charger. So being a 3-mana charger means you can accelerate straight to 5 mana, which works nicely with light because they have a lot of power cards in the 5 mana slot, like Petrova that I keep talking about. And then there's Miss Rias, which is a guardian that can, when something comes to play, draw you a card. So you can go 3-mana charger into Miss Rias without having to play nature, which is a very big benefit to have, so you can kind of streamline your deck without having to include nature to get use out of Bronze Arm Tribe or the other mana acceleration tools. Will it see play? I'm not sure, outside of being a charger. Choosing 2 creatures and untapping it. If you're playing light, you probably already tapping down all your opponent's stuff and just removing it out of the way to protect yourself for later. So it's kind of like doubling down on that. But they might find some niche use and try and just accelerate to your bigger cards without having to use nature like I talked about. So that'll do it for all the light cards. We'll see about cutting it here and then going into the next civilization. I guess we'll find that out together. But if this is the end of this video, I hope you enjoy, and then I'll see you in the next one, or see you in the next part. So peace, be easy.
Listen.